Today is 630th day that I'm here to share lessons I learn and I'm learning. I hope lessons to support your dreams, your goals, allow you to become the person that you want to become. Today I want to speak about one more emotion, and it's a very important emotion, that is inspiration. For some reason I used to think about inspiration about others, but I realized that every single person needs to feel inspiration, and we need to work very hard to get that inspiration, because not every single person has inspiration. That's why they don't pursue the things that they want. So today we'll share what exactly you're supposed to know about inspiration, and why some people do not have any inspiration at all. Now, when I think about inspiration, we need to understand that inspiration is involving motivation, because motivation is first level, and when you're inspired, you have motivation by default. And of course, it involves enthusiasm, creativity, and accompanies with some kind of clarity, focus, and determination. So let's look into what exactly we need to expect from inspiration. So first one, it comes from various sources. So that could be art. When you look into art, you could get inspired. You can get inspired by nature. You can be inspired by experiences. You can be inspired by other people talks. So that means when you expose yourself for more things, you get inspired. Sometimes when you look into the clouds, you get inspired by you see the images, visuals, and it could create some ideas to do the same things. For example, I love example that so many technology have been based on nature. So that means we need to be able to be inspired by multiple things. And when you go to some kind of event, we're able to listen how someone lives, you get inspired and you want to pursue the same things. Now, second thing is that it is a powerful motivator, because, as I said, that inspiration is a little bit above motivation. Inspiration is a little bit above motivation, because inspiration gives a lot of energy and enthusiasm. That enthusiasm gives so much energy, and you're able to use the energy to really move yourself forward. While motivation is a lot of times someone else pushing you, while inspiration is yourself. You are inspired, so that motivation is coming through you, from inside you. Motivation could come that a lot of times from somebody else, from external source, but that's why inspiration, that because it comes from inside. Number three is that it can lead to creative breakthroughs. Now, I really love that, because as I said, that a lot of times a lot of technology was based on nature. They look into how the animals moves and then create some kind of technology based on the bugs, animals, how the birds communicate, and they thinking, okay, how I could use that to create something new, how I could use that to create something more meaningful than art as well. That means that when you're listening to art, like you listening to some kind of music, that music inspires you and it gives you enthusiasm, and you get much more creative, and then you're able to have some kind of breakthrough in ideas. Exactly in reading books, that's an amazing idea for me. When I read books, I have so much ideas. So it's not something that's based on what I'm reading, but it just gives me much more creativity and breakthroughs in the things that I'm thinking about. Number four is it could provide a sense of purpose. That is very, very, very important. Inspiration, I think that one of the most important things about inspiration, that is gives that sense of purpose. Because especially when you really going to some event and you listen to a speaker, you're able to get inspired and pursue things that you never thought you could. That means you need to get exposed. A lot of times we need to understand that inspiration will come from a lot of different things that we never expected. For example, I love the example with Jay Shetty. I don't know if you have heard him speaking, but he has a lot of great ideas to share. And he said that a friend invited him to go to an event where a monk was doing a speech, and he said what they could learn from a monk. And he decided to go to that event anyways, and he learned a lot. It was life-changing event for him. He realized that that monk was much more happy that he never seen anyone being that happy and content before, and he, of course, that changed trajectory of his life. So that means he exposed to different things, and that allowed him to be inspired. Number five is it is personal, subjective. Every single person has different inspirations because it's very unique. One person is inspired by buying a boat. One person is inspired by adding value to people. One person is inspired by contribution. Other person is inspired by art. Other person is inspired by playing sports. Like there's so many different things that different people are inspired by, and you need to understand what makes you inspired and really get more of those things. But at the same time, do not say no to a lot of things that you've never done before. Because a lot of times when you get exposed to more things, you can find more inspiration. Exactly the same as I shared before, the Jay Shetty. Number 6 is that it can be nurtured and cultivated. Now, as I said, there are a lot of times that you need to expose yourself to get inspiration, so that you sometimes you have no idea that you will be inspired that day because you get some unique inspiration. But at the same time, when you know something that really you enjoy, you like, that means you're able to do those things more over and over again, and you get more and more inspiration. If you are inspired by autobiographies, when you read really people's stories, how they overcome all the challenges, how they went through adversities, what they did, how they grew up, and how they use that adversity to change the things in their life. And if you get inspired by those, so that means the more you read autobiographies, the more inspiration you'll get. So that means some things you're able to cultivate in yourself and you're able to do to get more of it. Number 7 is it can be contagious. And why is that contagious? Because inspiration always comes with enthusiasm. And enthusiasm is one of the most contagious emotions. So it means when you're pursuing with enthusiasm the inspiration that you want to have, like it could be the meaning, the purpose of your life, the sport that you want to pursue, the nature, like when you show that enthusiasm, other people will get inspired by that as well. So that is a ripple effect, because one person inspired you, and you inspire that other person inspires someone else, and it always goes and goes and goes. So that means that inspiration is a beautiful thing because it's a ripple effect on other people. And the last one, it is not constant. Now, of course, when you think about inspiration, it could be based on some kind of goal. So that means when you hit that goal, that means that inspiration goes away, and you need to create a new goal that you could feel inspired by. So inspiration cannot be constant because our inspiration changes because we are changing. We're able to improve, get better. And the things that used to inspire in the past doesn't inspire anymore. And new things inspire. And that is okay because that new inspiration a lot of times comes with a little bit more enthusiasm. And when we use that enthusiasm with focus and determination, we achieve those things. Then we pursue bigger and bigger and bigger inspirations. Now, I would love to finish with really why people do not have enough inspiration to really pursue the things that they want in life. Number one thing is that lack of exposure. People, if you sit at home 16 hours a day, like sleeping 8 hours, and you come back and maybe even 20 hours a day, like what do you do? Like how are you supposed to get inspiration if you're all day long at home? You need to go out of home, see new things, experience the things, nature, events, concerts. Like there's a lot of things like reading books and going to events, going to even a library. Just not sit at home and get more exposure. Travel. Now, external influences, that could be that how do you feel? And like a lot of times external things could influence you, but if you're able to allow yourself to be internal influence, not external influence, of course that you are more inspired. Number 3 is fear of failure and judgments. That is a big thing because a lot of times we are inspired to do things, inspired to pursue things, inspired to pursue goal. But now fear of judgment comes in, and because you were inspired, but you're fearful and you're inspired. But your fear is bigger than your inspiration and you fall down and you don't do the things that you're inspired by. And of course, the inspiration is lost. And of course, then you lose the beautiful emotion that you potentially could have. Number 4 is disconnect from personal interests and values. So that means if you do not know yourself, if you're not self-aware, and you don't do the things that inspires you, for example, reading autobiographies, if that inspires you and you love doing that, and you really feel more enthusiastic after reading that, but you never do that means you disconnect from the things that really inspires you. So What inspires you, and when was the last time you did it? That's the question you need to ask yourself. Number 5 is lack of self-awareness. And this is again part of disconnect from yourself. So how much do you know yourself? Because every single time, every single year, every single month, and every single decade, we need to reevaluate ourselves because we are changing. And we'll need to be reflecting all the time what we learn, what we need to learn, and how to improve, what inspires us, what we don't like, what are the fears, what are the judgments, all the aspects. And when you know that, you are able to have to bring more inspiration in your life. Number 6 is negative mindset and pessimism. So that means if you are negative and you have inspiration, and it's very similar as fear, because when you have inspiration, but you have a negative emotions and you have pessimism, it's like, oh, I would love to pursue this one and I'm inspired to do that, but most likely it will not work for me. So it's a lot of times is that it's going to be self-doubt, I'm not enough, or it will never work. This is for sure, this business is, the market is not the best now. I bet it will do maybe later. So dealing with a lot of negative emotions is stopping from inspiration. And the last one is emotional fatigue and burnout. So that means a lot of times people trying to pursue the inspiration with one path, and that path it doesn't work. So sometimes we need to reevaluate our paths, because we get the burnout because we're doing work that doesn't bring any results a lot of times, and we do it with a path that doesn't help us, and we don't like the path, and if the path is not the best path, sometimes we need to evaluate what path we're taking to our goal, because we're not supposed to say no to our vision, but sometimes we need to say no to our path. And because we're pursuing the same thing over and over again with the same thing that doesn't work, we get into burnout with the emotional fatigue, and we do not feel that inspiration that we felt before. Because I truly believe that one of the best way to keep yourself with inspiration is those small wins along the pathway. So inspiration is a beautiful, beautiful emotion. I think that I need to work on feel more inspired, because I feel a lot of times inspired, but I really want to bring much more, because it's very contagious emotion. And I want to add value to people. If I want to add value to people, so I want to help them to be inspired. So I hope you choose to win, and see you tomorrow.